stop it. No, I'm not talking about that kind of content. I'm not. You guys have often asked me about Elite. So, Elite Dangerous. One of you guys suggested a video of why play Elite Dangerous. And this may be a means of... Thank you, Golden Dragon. Thank you very much. Well, okay, that's gotta ask. That's fine. I'm gonna yap about. I'm gonna yap about this before I actually start it. You guys have asked me. Should I get into Elite Dangerous? Why Elite Dangerous? Thank you, Durhan. Thank you for 10 gifted. And I have done my best to say why Elite Dangerous is a fun game and why you might want to join in on it. I'd like to think I've done a fairly good job of, selling Elite. But this one might help in doing it further, and I think I may be able to I don't know if I go that far with my QA for Elite. I don't think I'm a very when it comes to Elite. I don't think. But I do have a lot of fun with it. This, I think, may help showcase how fun it is. And I think I can probably offer a fair bit of input into what they say. So, let's get into it. And I will probably yap a whole lot on this. So, chat, get ready.
Hello, Commanders. Xariann here. I hope your flying through the stars is helping you get away from some of the current tumultuous
she's flying
times.
a python.
Power play in real life is not quite as fun as it is in Elite Dangerous. I have been having some conversations with friends and family, some of which have played Elite Dangerous, and as such, I have had the opportunity to articulate why I like to play Elite. While talking to these other people, I just couldn't escape the comparisons with other games I played. Why do I log on to Elite Dangerous when X4 exists? What about No Man's Sky and Star Citizen, even Starfield?
All legit questions. Okay, hold up. Starfield, I can answer. No Man's Sky, very legitimate as to why log on to Elite versus No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is somewhat similar to Elite in terms of being very open world. X4, as I understand, is more of an RTS, not a first person. Yeah, it's exactly wrong. Our X4, as my understanding, is closer to EVE Online. It is far more like an RTS. And it's not an actual space sim. So that is weird. It's not RTS. I was given the impression that X4 was. I could be wrong. I've never played X4, but it's not like a FPS. Well, not even an FPS. Okay, but Zep, is X4 a space sim like Elite or No Man's Sky, where you are in the cockpit flying around in the galaxy? That's my again, I have not played X4, so I'm going by kind of what I've heard. You can get to the point of an RTS in X4. Okay. Leo, I could be doing that. Could be it. You absolutely could be correct. I could be confusing X4 with Solaris. Yes, I do believe I am doing that. Yeah. I think so. Okay, so that's my mistake. But yeah, it's I've often heard why Elite over No Man's Sky, Starfield. Okay, I can very easily say why Elite is better than Starfield, because Starfield is not actually a free open world. You have roadblocks at every turn, and if literally you want to do anything in your ship, it's a loading screen. You want to do a jump? There is a full unloading screen instead of the witch space you see, which doubles as the loading screen. If you want to land on a planet, that's an actual loading screen instead of you actively flying into the planet's atmo, breaking through atmo, going into glide, and then coming to a stop after you've finished glide. When you land and exit your ship, there's a full-on loading screen for that. Like, it is fucking loading screen the game in Starfield. That is why Elite is so much better. And with Elite, you are actually exploring. You actually have freedom to explore literally anywhere. Starfield, you have the space travel in Starfield is supplemental to their ground stuff when you're on the ground. Bethesda tried to hype it up as this huge space exploration game. There is no space exploration, and the time you spend in space is excessively fucking minimal because they focus everything on it being Skyrim, like sci-fi Skyrim. So that is why Elite is far fucking superior to Starfield. And thank you, Dropkick. I missed.
Define why is to talk about what I like and don't like about all of these games. Let's begin with Starfield. This is a very different game, which is mostly story-driven. There are plenty of quests, and you can land on Earth-like planets, albeit with loading screens. On paper, there are trading missions and bounty hunting, just like in Elite. And I think that bounty hunting on the ground in Starfield feels better than in Elite.
Okay, that is one thing that I will also agree with. The on-foot stuff in Starfield is better than Elite. Because that's where their focus was in terms of developing the game. They were far more concerned about developing the on-ground stuff than they were about the space stuff. It was priorities because Bethesda wanted to make sci-fi Skyrim. So, of course, all of their development was in the ground game. You on the ground, the ground combat, etc. It's graphically, yes. Starfield is better graphically and probably even mechanically than Elite for the on-foot ground stuff. Absolutely. I will not deny that. But Elite did not start off as that. Bear in mind, you could not exit your ship on foot in Elite Dangerous until about 3 years ago. 4 years ago, when Odyssey came out. That is when, for the first time, you could actually exit your ship and go out on foot. Before then, you were limited to being in your SRV, your moon rover. Starfield, from the very beginning, built the game on on-foot combat, on-foot missions. They didn't build it for space missions. Elite was built from the very beginning as a space flight sim. That's all it was when Elite first came out, and that's primarily what it has been for 10 years. Even when Odyssey came out with the ground combat, the majority of people still remain in their ships and don't do ground combat because the space flight is what people got into Elite for in the first place.
Starfield doesn't do a great job at hiding the mechanics it uses to give you the illusion of exploration. I don't think it even tries.
Yeah.
Aside from the obvious loading screens, when you land on one of the procedurally generated planets, for example, the game generates a square of the surface, and that's all you can explore on foot. But let's take the trading missions. You pick up as many as you can, and you can even have a route between systems. Except because there is no travel, your trading consists of running to a console, picking up the missions, going through a bunch of loading screens, then run to the next console, etc.
You can, Wildmage, yes. If you have the Odyssey DLC for Elite, you can leave your ship on foot. Yes, you can.
Half-baked. Despite all this, I think that worlds in Starfield are more varied than in Elite Dangerous. They are procedurally generated in both, but Starfield has a small upper hand in visuals and variety of landable worlds. Shipbuilding in Starfield is a very good feature, and it beats No Man's Sky's equivalent, hands down. Starfield also has base...
It's okay. The shipbuilding in Starfield is very creative. It's also pointless. This entire shipbuilding with all of this, with all these factors for how it affects your ship is clever, but it's pointless because Starfield is not about the space travel. So it's, again, you're talking about like 10%, 15% of the game this affects. Whereas Elite, The space travel is 95%.
And it beats No Man's Sky's equivalent, hands down. Starfield also has base building, which is more limited than in No Man's Sky. At the core, Starfield is an RPG that tries to simulate a simulation. So if I am not in the mood for an RPG, I don't play Starfield. Also, when I am in the
Yeah.
mood for an RPG, I don't play Starfield. I'm kidding.
Hey.
A little bit.
Uh-huh.
Shepard.
Grunt.
Yes,
Shepard.
effects.
Rex.
Let's talk No Man's Sky. The procedural generation here is better than Elite. It's more varied, it's more colorful, but it's also not varied. After a while, it's really easy to see the recycling of the assets used for procedural generation.
Oh.
The bases you find on the planets themselves are even more copy and paste than in Starfield. They have identical layouts, at least in Starfield there is some variation. Elite suffers from similar issues, where there is a small number of base layouts across the entire galaxy, and that's that. And while No Man's Sky can give you beautiful views, I just don't like the visual design. I mean, how chonky the graphics are, how your character looks, etc. And unfortunately, knowing that you are inside a simulation, story-wise, just gives me a bit of an uneasy meta feel. I already know these games are fictional, but No Man's Sky's universe is fiction inside a fiction. It's a bit like The Matrix, but you don't get out. It just makes me feel like it's all futile. The game is breaking the fourth wall for me and outright telling me I am just discovering a different combination of pixels every time. It might satisfy the mathematician, but not the explorer, for me at least. The combat in No Man's Sky just doesn't work for me, and trading...
That is one of the things I've heard that is the weak point of No Man's Sky, is both the on-foot and space combat is not great. I remember, now I know they've made some improvements since launch. I remember watching Angry Joe's review for when No Man's Sky actually launched, and the combat was absolute piss poor. Now I do know that that From Software, was it from? Fuck, who is it that does No Man's Sky? Is it Hello? Is it Hello Games? Yeah, it is Hello Games. Hello Games has made big leaps in improving the quality of No Man's Sky from when it first launched, but I don't think as I understand it, they have not improved the combat. And so it's maybe, their focus is perhaps more on exploration, but their combat kinda sucks.
Is not simulated. You can crash a market at one station if you sell too many items, but that's it. Let's not forget, however, that No Man's Sky started out as a survival exploration game, and as such, it has base building, which is fantastic. Trailblazers pales in comparison, but due to the fact that Elite has a background simulation, I can see why Trailblazers doesn't let you lay down every single wall manually. Trailblazers colonization is more like playing a city builder. You build industry here, so more industrial development happens.
Now, one thing I will also point out is Trailblazers literally just came out. The what we're talking about with the base building, this literally just launched for Elite several weeks ago. It is the first time in the game's history that players can actually claim star systems. Up until several weeks ago, players could not claim any star systems. Now they can. So basically, it is in its infancy, and there's certainly a possibility that Frontier down the line may shift the Trailblazers to allow you to start actually designing your bases. I honestly don't think that's going to happen if I'm being realistic about it. But it is a possibility if they really want to go whole hog on it. But yeah, this is like the Trailblazers, the base building is a brand new feature. Plus, you get actual space stations. And I'm not sure if No Man's Sky will let you put a space station into the game. You can get like surface bases that you can design, which is nice, but I'm pretty sure that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you cannot actually put a actual orbital space station in place, which you can do in Elite multiple times, and you get a selection of different styles to choose from, which for a just launched feature that has never been done before in Elite's 10-year history is kind of nice.
Build residential housing, more civilians appear, etc. So what about Star Citizen? I haven't played it, so I can't tell you if
Scam
it's any
Citizen?
better, but I can tell you why I haven't played it. 800 million and no full release since 2010? What other
Yep.
game has done that? Even when you look at AAA games, what other game has cost $800 million and taken this long to just be an alpha? So,
Yep.
dear Cloud Imperium, why don't you show me the money? Then I'll try it, maybe. What I am hearing,
Maybe if Cloud Imperium would make not a buggy ass fucking game. From everything I have heard, Star Citizen is just as fucking buggy as a Bethesda game. Like, that is one of the things that why I heard people avoid it. I've heard it's very much pay to win, like buying ships that you want, and it's also buggy as all fuck. Those are the two things I have heard about Star Citizen. Dropkick, don't worry about that. Don't even worry about that. Having that pop up will not interrupt. Don't worry, game. It's fine, I promise. More background than a game? Oh, sorry, you said playground. More playground than a game? It's a tough call, Rezo. If it's more playground than a game, I mean, yeah, and Falcon, I think you may be waiting. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people are saying, like, okay, 8 million has been pumped into Cloud Imperium for Star Citizen, and it's still in pre-alpha. And I'm thinking quite more than a few people are probably wondering, where's all this money going? If you have not been able to craft a game after taking in $8 million, where's all that money going? I don't know. I know exactly, Silver. Exactly.
even from people who like it, is that the game has a lot of ideas and features, but they're not fleshed out. I have heard that Star Citizen's immersion is unbeaten. It's a world you might want to live in, and that's something I am eager to experience. Unfortunately, that alone is not enough to draw me in. And X4 Foundations? Well, X4 is actually the other game I really like playing. It has a simulated economy once again. That is probably one of the major things compelling me to play both Elite and X4. It does have stories sprawling through the galaxy, and you can pilot your own ship. What I like about X4...
Oh, okay. So you can pilot your ship. So is X4 sort of a combo piece of space sim and strategy? Because for me, that might be for me personally, that's not a game I would want to play. I wouldn't want to do strategy, like split my time between doing strategy and fly. That's why I love Elite Dangerous. I love Elite Dangerous because you just, from the word go, you are in your ship and you're flying through the galaxy. That's why I like it. Okay, so it's part Elite, part Eve. That's kind of what I've heard, Rizzo. That's the impression I got. You don't need to do strategy? Okay. Okay, let me see more about this.
Is that it can be as much about colony management...
Wait, 800... Yes, Andrew, I misspoke earlier when I was saying Cloud Imperium raised 8 million. It's 800 million. I forgot the 100 part of it. Yeah, 800 million that Cloud Imperium is raised in 15 years, and we still don't even have an alpha. You would think people would want to look into that.
Our own ship. what I like about X4 is that it can be as much about colony management as it can be a space sim. It has missions similar to Elite as well, but I personally struggle to play X4 in first person only. X4 is a game I play when I am in the mood for looking after production chains and colonization, which is very
Hey.
different from Elite's Trailblazers update. I play
Yep.
X4 when I want to zoom out from my cockpit and deal with the larger politics of the galaxy. It's when I
Okay.
feel like
Yeah, there it is. So that is for myself. That's not something I would want to do. I would want to, yes, like I do, I will attend management of like my system with my space station. I still have to work on it. God, I still have yet to work on that planet base that's just sitting there. Oh, I realize that, Sam. I realize you don't have to do it. I appreciate that. Um, God, I just realized I still have not done anything for my planetary base that is still sitting in perma construction mode. I've got to really do something about that.
I want to play the commodities markets without losing real money. But I also think it looks worse than Elite. X4 is
There
not a game I want to play for exploration and panoramic views.
there we go.
Given that I started the comparison with Starfield, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention another RPG, Everspace 2. While Elite is not an RPG, Everspace does offer breathtaking views, excellent graphics, and because every world is curated, it doesn't have what I call the Lego look. Think about it like this. For me,
Okay.
Starfield and No Man's Sky look like a collection of piles of Lego pieces. The piles have different compositions of a limited amount of Legos, so when you look at the stacks, you identify them all as one thing, a pile. Each pile is different, but they also just look like a pile. Also, there is no logical positioning of said pieces. There are no roads connecting settlements in No Man's Sky, Starfield, or Elite. They are placed far enough so that
Hey,
problem of logistics and intelligent urban planning does not need to be solved. Because Starfield has a number of curated locations, which Elite and No Man's Sky don't have, in those situations, then Starfield's environments look unique, with inspiration from other sci-fi tropes.
well, okay, yeah. Starfield, again, the exploration is a fallacy, and they basically they have what, 4 or 5 actual locations that are like major city hubs that you go to that are, we'll say, handcrafted. They like, from everything I've heard, the main city hubs that you go to in Starfield look very good. Particularly like there's a neon city like in reviews I've heard look really good. But that's like 4 or 5 unique locations for you to go to, and that's it. The rest of the game is just empty with nothing else to do.
Everspace has an overarching story and a couple of endgame modes, and it is better described as an action RPG and looter shooter of the
Hey.
likes of Diablo or Destiny, but in space. The flight model is also arcadey and has been developed with keyboard in mind first, HOTAs later.
Uh-huh.
But it is still much better than No Man's
Hey. Oh, I don't like that. That the space combat is designed with keyboard and mouse in mind and HOTAS second? Don't like that.
Sky's combat, in my opinion. Everspace combat has been developed with a very specific style and flow, and as such, it is very dialed in. No Man's Sky combat feels like it tries to do what Elite does, but it doesn't manage. Whereas Starfield just needs to borrow a few things from Everspace to make space combat feel just a little more interesting. Trade in Everspace is also not based on a simulation, and while you can trade, it's also uninteresting. You can't land on planets, but you spend a big amount of your time in atmospheric flight in specific locations, which contributes to the beautiful views. It still manages to include space travel between systems, which Starfield fails to do. In Everspace, faction play has no tangible effect on the galaxy. It's there just for better loot. Everspace scratches a very different itch, but if you are just generally open to space games, you like loot, shooters, and story-driven gameplay, you will probably enjoy this one.
And that's what it sounds like Everspace is. Everspace is an action RPG looter shooter. Again, it's The only game out of this collective right now that seems to be close to Elite in terms of its style is No Man's Sky. X2 is kind of there in that it's an open space, but there's still the mechanics of it is not the same. It's we are, you know, these are a lot of these are very different genres. The only genre that's close to Elite is No Man's Sky. And again, No Man's Sky has some faults there too.
So, given all these games, why do I play Elite? I think it is the
Uh,
best
it-
compromise of what I want from space games, even though it doesn't have everything I want. Note the word I used? Compromise. I like power play as far as factional gameplay goes. It is one of the most interesting ways the galaxy changes, or it makes you feel like it does anyway. I like flying in a
well,
ship in
it
Elite.
does.
I like how you have to manage energy systems. I like that you
It
actually have to land on things without a loading screen. I like
yes.
how the ship behaves. I like the immersion you get, although I do understand that Star Citizen does this better. Even though
Wait, I need to hear that again. Hang on.
to land on things without a loading screen, I like how the ship behaves. I like the immersion you get, although I do understand that Star Citizen does this better.
Um, I have to disagree. Like you get like Star System again does immersion planet side. I've not seen any evidence to suggest that the space flight in Starfield is more immersive than Elite. Nothing I have seen seems to indicate that whatsoever. Like Elite, as far as like immersion into the galaxy, Elite far supersedes immersion than Starfield does. And like as these, yeah, I mean, like as a space sim, Elite is far more immersive in that respect than Star Citizen or Starfield. Star Citizen, Razzle, the problem is it's more limited. Star Citizen has a far more. Yeah, I kept saying I keep mixing the two of them up because they sound so goddamn similar. Star Citizen has far too limited of sandbox. Yeah, I said Star Citizen. That's yeah.
I like the immersion you get, although I do understand that Star Citizen does this better.
Yeah. So you're right. I misheard her and I was thinking Starfield. But honestly, the same criticisms I have in terms of immersion do also apply with Star Citizen. Because with Star Citizen, the immersion is again planet side. So it's kind of like both Starfield and Star Citizen. The immersion you get is planet side. Whereas the immersion you get in Elite is in space. So it is a different type of immersion compared to sources in Starfield. Because Elite is a bigger sandbox than all of them. Because let's not forget, the sandbox for Elite is a literal one-to-one representation of the Milky Way galaxy. Star Citizen has a very, very, very small sandbox. Starfield has a larger sandbox, but it is just empty and useless and you can't do anything with it. Elite has a literal galaxy-sized sandbox that is completely open world for you to do whatever the fuck that you want to do with it. Yeah, like No Man's Sky is I cannot exactly recall the sandbox size of No Man's Sky. I can't remember if it's a galactic sandbox or if it's a universal size sandbox. I don't recall honestly. But No Man's Sky would be similar in sandbox size to Elite. 255 galaxies. So, okay. So No Man's Sky is okay. Are they galaxies or are they star systems, Tornado? Because that is a difference. There's a big fucking difference between 255 galaxies and 255 star systems. Okay, so No Man's Sky is a universal sandbox. So No Man's Sky is a larger sandbox. It is. But the style is different. Like Elite, another big question when it comes to Elite, and the reason why I like it is not only do you have a literal galactic sandbox, you are also they also are having a lot like they actually have actual Newtonian physics baked into the game. You have to contend with things like gravity, weight, power distribution. You know, if you are flying close to the sun, flying close to a star, the gravity well will slow you down. Your speed will decrease as you approach a gravity well, and it will be slow to spin back up when you are leaving the gravity well. So you actually, like Elite actually took the time to inject true Newtonian, like actual Newtonian physics into a sci-fi space sim. No Man's Sky doesn't do that. No Man's Sky is, when it comes to their physics, it is largely sci-fi, to basically put a word to it. That's kind of why I like Elite. It's fantastical, but it's also rooted in realistic physics.
Even though the graphics might need an upgrade now, I prefer the style of Elite's visuals to No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Star Citizen is looking pretty good in this department, I must admit. I like that landing on a planet is something you need to give some thought to. And most of all, I like the background simulation. I like that trading matters, and boosting minor factions creates conflict, which changes the state of systems.
Uh-huh.
I like that you can coordinate efforts with your friends. This can be PvP efforts, community goals, colonization, power play, exploration expeditions, fuel rats helping stranded commanders. I like that you can colonize systems.
Again, I want to hear it again. I want to hear it again.
P efforts, community goals, colonization, power play, exploration expeditions, fuel rats helping stranded commanders. I like that you can colonize systems, even though there are problems with that feature being a beta.
And I'm sorry. Can we just appreciate the fact that in this game of why is Elite better than comparison games, the fuel rats are mentioned. She mentioned the fuel rats. I love it. I was kind of hoping. No, Robo, I'm not in charge, but I am a fuel rat. I've been in the fuel rats. I just had my 4-year anniversary this weekend, so I am a fuel rat. I'm not in charge, but I am a fuel rat, and I've spent 4 years being a fuel rat. So it's always so wonderful when I come across a video and the fuel rats get mentioned. It's great. I'm ecstatic.
I like that you can colonize systems,
Yes,
even
I
though
am,
there are
Xanax.
problems with that feature being a beta.
Well, actually, let me rephrase. Xanax, I am number 3 on the leaderboard. I am not going to say I am the 3rd best out of all the fuel rats. I will say that I am well experienced. I have a good amount of experience. I'm not going to say I'm the 3rd best. No, that would be very unfair of me to say. There are like some, there are fuel rats that are still active today that have far more experience than I. But I do feel like I am a very experienced fuel rat. I will just say that I'm very experienced. I have been a fuel rat for 4 years, so I have a pretty good grasp of how to perform a rescue. I will just say that.
Being a beta. The first problem being that the beta is being conducted on the live server. I like that you can say, I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the center of the galaxy. I can go to the c I am not forced into PvP or even group play. I can decide exactly
Also
how many
correct.
people I play with. But remember the word I used earlier, compromise. You can't land on Earth-like planets, you can't walk around your ship.
This is true.
You can do this in
True.
Starfield and Star Citizen. The bases are copy-paste. The way Frontier decides to employ friction is not something I always agree with. For example, how you can only pin one engineering blueprint. Some of these things are done better in other
Yeah.
games, but when I put it all together, Elite has the amalgamation of features that makes me click on its icon in my quick bar to start playing, and I enjoy it. After so many
Me
years
too.
of pining after the perfect space game, one thing has become abundantly clear. Making a space game with all the ingredients, be it scope, features, immersion, flight simulation, graphics, variety, engaging gameplay loops, exploration, background simulation, trading, story, etc., is extremely difficult. Big 4X strategy games focus on the wider picture, resource management, economics, and politics. RPG and story-driven games focus on, well, story and roleplay. Simulations focus on flying mechanics, combat, trading, and such. But the one game to rule them all is literally a galactic effort that might just be too big for anyone to do well. Even for Star Citizen, I do hope that one day, preferably while I am still able to play video games, this ideal space game will eventually see the light of day. Until then, 07 Commanders.
Yeah. So basically, for me, Elite Dangerous, what keeps me going back to Elite is the openness and freedom. You can literally do anything you want. It is completely open from the word go. You do not have to involve yourself in any storyline arcs if you do not wish to. And the exploration in Elite is... Thank you, Atanashi. The exploration in Elite, I feel is, the quality of the exploration, I think, is unmatched. In my personal opinion, I do think that the exploration beats No Man's Sky in terms of the quality of it. Navigating the galaxy, the thought bit is the thought process you need to go in terms of planning it out, managing, you don't have super management of resources and stuff, but enough that it keeps things interesting. That's why I prefer Elite over all the others. It's a very enjoyable game, and that's why I played it for 4 years. It's why I've continued to enjoy it for 4 years. And you know what? Frontier is only continuing to do improvements on it. We've seen outstanding quality of life improvements for the last, year and a half, 2 years, and they're still going. And that is a sign of a good game and a good game company, that they are continuing to do significant quality of life improvements. So I like it. And hopefully for everybody that's been kind of inquiring of, should I get Elite and why? Hopefully maybe this will help guide your decision in one way or another. Hopefully.